Imagine being locked in a stone box, condemned as a 1,000-degree hurricane of fire erases your entire world. For one man in 1902, this nightmare was real, and he lived. This is a tale the world tried to forget. At the dawn of the 20th century, on the French island of Martinique, lay the city of Saint-Pierre. It wasn't just a city, it was a jewel, the vibrant cultural and economic heart of the Caribbean. Founded in 1635, it had blossomed into a bustling port. Its red-tiled cottages and rambling streets nestled amidst lush tropical vegetation, earning it the moniker, the Paris of the Caribbean. Though Fort-de-France was the island's administrative capital, Saint-Pierre was where life truly pulsed with energy and sophistication. Its harbour teemed with ships, its markets with goods, its theatres with art. Life here felt secure, prosperous, almost idyllic. Looming over this paradise, however, was Mount Pelée, a volcano that had slumbered for decades, regarded more as a majestic backdrop than an active threat. For years, it had been quiescent, offering only occasional wisps of vapour. As early as late 1901, a local teacher in Saint-Pierre, Gaston Landes, had noted these faint signals from the summit, but few shared his concern. In early April 1902, excursionists reported sulphurous vapours from fumaroles. Into this vibrant city, under the shadow of this sleeping giant, walked Ludger Sylbaris. Also known by names like Ludger Sylbaris, he was an ordinary man, a common labourer, making his way in the bustling streets of Saint-Pierre. His life was unremarkable until early May 1902. Accounts suggest that on May 2nd, Sylbaris was involved in a drunken altercation, a street brawl, or bar fight, where he allegedly wounded another man, possibly with a machete. For this, he was arrested. By the night of May 7th, just hours before catastrophe would strike, Sylbaris found himself in deeper trouble. Whether for the initial assault or for an escape attempt, he was placed in solitary confinement. His prison was not just any cell. It was a small, stone-walled, bomb-proof magazine, built partially underground. It had no windows. Its only ventilation was a narrow iron grating in the door, a door that crucially faced away from Mount Pelée. This grim, isolated space, designed for punishment, was about to become the most unlikely of arcs. The juxtaposition is stark, a city celebrated for its beauty and life, and within it, a man confined to darkness, unaware of his prison's new purpose. The mountain's patience was wearing thin. What began as subtle whispers soon escalated into angry roars. On April 23, 1902, Mount Pelée began a series of minor phreatic or steam blast eruptions from its summit. 2 days later, on April 25th, a larger explosion spewed ash, steam and debris. By late April, the warnings became impossible to ignore. Columns of dust and ash choked the sky, the air thick with the smell of sulphur. Then came a truly terrifying omen, an invasion of creatures. Driven from the toxic slopes of Mount Pelée, hordes of ground-dwelling insects and snakes descended upon the city and outlying villages. Red ants and foot-long centipedes swarmed. More horrifying still, thousands of poisonous snakes, including the deadly fer de lance, slithered into homes and streets. An estimated 50 people and some 200 animals perished from these venomous bites, even before the volcano unleashed its full fury. On May the 2nd, the mountain produced loud explosions and earthquakes, sending a massive pillar of dense black smoke skyward. Some residents, their nerves frayed, began to evacuate Saint-Pierre, seeking refuge in the capital, Fort-de-France. The situation worsened dramatically on May 5th. A torrent of scalding water, mud, and debris, a lahar, surged down the Rivière Blanche at nearly 60 miles per hour, obliterating a sugar mill and instantly burying dozens of souls. This massive mud flow crashed into the sea, generating a series of tsunamis that swept along the coast, damaging buildings and boats in the lower parts of Saint-Pierre. Despite these horrifying events, the official response was one of dangerous reassurance. An upcoming election, scheduled for May 11th, played a fatal role. Governor Louis Moutet, concerned about voter turnout, received a report from a hastily assembled committee of civic leaders who lacked any expert volcanologists. Their conclusion, delivered to the anxious public, was that there is nothing in the activity of Mount Pelée that warrants a departure from Saint-Pierre, and that the safety of Saint-Pierre is completely assured. Governor Moutet actively encouraged people to stay. In a move that sealed the fate of thousands, troops were reportedly dispatched to patrol the road to Fort-de-France, with orders to turn back refugees attempting to flee the increasingly dangerous zone. The night of May 7th was filled with dread. Volcanic activity intensified, clouds of ash swirled, illuminated by constant volcanic lightning around Pelée's summit. Both craters glowed an ominous reddish-orange against the darkness. Thursday, May the 8th, 1902, was Ascension Day. At approximately 7:52 a.m., the telegraph office in Saint-Pierre relayed its last message. Just after 8 o'clock a.m., Mount Pelée exploded with unimaginable violence. The upper mountainside ripped open. From the volcano's breached flank, a dense, ground-hugging cloud of incandescent lava particles and superheated gases, a nuée ardente, erupted horizontally. It appeared black and heavy, yet glowed from within, a roiling mass of death. With temperatures exceeding 1075 degrees Celsius, it raced down the slopes at speeds estimated between 160 to over 500 kilometers per hour. In under 2 minutes, this fiery hurricane reached Saint-Pierre. Escape was impossible. The city was engulfed, obliterated. Stone buildings were flattened as if by a colossal explosion. Everything combustible instantly ignited. Countless casks of rum in the warehouses exploded, fueling a firestorm that would rage for days. An estimated 28,000 to 30,000 people were killed almost instantly, burned alive, suffocated by superheated gases and ash, or crushed by collapsing masonry. The Paris of the Caribbean was gone. Inside his cell, Ludger Sylbaris experienced the apocalypse. He later recounted that around breakfast time, it suddenly grew very dark. A wave of intensely hot air, thick with fine, burning ashes, blasted through the narrow grating in his cell door. With remarkable presence of mind, he urinated on his meagre clothing and desperately stuffed it into the opening, trying to block the searing influx. The heat was unbearable, but it lasted only a short moment. It was enough to inflict deep, agonizing burns on his hands, arms, legs, and back. Miraculously, his clothes did not ignite, and crucially, he avoided inhaling the worst of the superheated, ash-laden air that instantly scorched the lungs of those outside. The thick stone walls of his partially subterranean cell and its orientation away from the main blast had saved his life. When the suffocating cloud passed, Saint-Pierre was no more, a smouldering necropolis, a city of the dead. For 4 days, Ludger Sylbaris lay in his dark, oven-like cell, terribly burned, subsisting on rainwater and condensation. His cries for help went unheard amidst the desolation. Finally, on May 11th, a rescue team discovered him. They pulled him from his stone tomb, a man horrifically scarred, but, against all conceivable odds, alive. His story was initially met with disbelief. How could anyone survive at the very heart of such complete devastation? It's important to note that Sylbaris was not the only individual to survive. Most other survivors were on the very fringes of the pyroclastic flow. Léon Compère Léandre described feeling a terrible wind before his body was seared by the heat. A young girl, Havivradaye Freile, reportedly survived by taking shelter in a coastal cave. A few tens of people on the margins also lived, though all suffered severe burns and many succumbed to their injuries later. But Sylbaris' survival was different. He had been entombed within the zone of total destruction, shielded by the very instrument of his punishment. This paradox, a condemned man spared by the apocalypse, captured the world's imagination. The eruption became a landmark event for science, dramatically increasing interest in volcanology and giving prominence to the term nuée ardente, to describe the terrifying phenomenon that had annihilated Saint-Pierre. For Ludger Sylbaris, survival was just the beginning of another strange journey. Pardoned for his crimes, he was left destitute. His incredible story, however, was a marketable commodity. Soon, he was touring with Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth. Advertised as the most marvellous man in the world, he was displayed in a replica of his Saint-Pierre jail cell, recounting his horrific experience to curious crowds. He became a minor celebrity, the first black man to star in the then segregated circus. But this fame was a double-edged sword. Reports indicate he was eventually expelled from the circus for repeated fighting while intoxicated, faced further arrests for assault, and was ultimately deported from the United States. Ludger Sylbaris, the survivor of Armageddon, eventually moved to Panama, where he worked on the construction of the canal. He died there in 1929, in relative obscurity and poverty. His incredible tale largely faded from public memory. It's a tragic irony. He cheated a fiery death that claimed 30,000 souls, only to be consumed by the more mundane, yet equally harsh realities of human exploitation and personal struggle. His miraculous survival was reduced to a spectacle. The city of Saint-Pierre was never restored to its former grandeur. Today, a smaller town stands on the site, home to a volcanological museum that stands as a solemn reminder of the 1902 disaster. The ruins whisper of a vibrant past. The decisions made in those fateful weeks serve as an enduring, chilling lesson about the consequences. When warnings are ignored, when scientific understanding is lacking, and when political or economic concerns overshadow human safety. The fact that such a monumental event and the intricate personal stories within it can fade from common knowledge is a testament to how even the most profound horrors can be buried by time. Saint-Pierre, the vibrant Paris of the Caribbean, vanished in minutes. 30,000 lives extinguished in a breath of fire. Yet from a lightless cell, against all odds, Ludger Sylbaris endured. Was it fate, a miracle, or a cruel cosmic joke that the condemned man should walk away from a city of ghosts? Some horrors history tries to bury, we remember. If you believe these forgotten stories deserve to be told, subscribe for more journeys into the shadows of history, and let us know in the comments what other lost tales or unexplained events haunt your curiosity.